On this week's episode of The Science Inside, Paul McNally and his team from the WITS Radio Academy had a look at the science behind learning because, of course, all the matrics in South Africa are gearing up to write their final exams soon. Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Now, like I said, you had a look at the science of learning. Speak to us about that.
Yeah, I think it's an issue that people don't really usually associate science and learning together, but we were really interested, especially in maths, because maths is something that most people feel they've left behind at some point, and they have no idea why they can't do maths, and they really want to get better at it, and they're quite ashamed of it. So we brought a professor of educational linguistics in, a very lovely lady, to speak about why people let go of maths. And she went into that a lot and we found out a lot of amazing things about, you shouldn't feel bad, the fact that you feel that you can't do math. It's all got to do with what's going on, probably something terrible that happened to you many years ago that you shouldn't feel bad about.
Well, then that, I suppose, explains a lot about me. I don't know what terrible thing happened to me, but I certainly can't do any mathematics. Now, you also spoke about the idea of inclusive teaching. Did I get that right?
Yeah, inclusive teaching. Yeah, it's something that's essentially it's something that it's about bringing all different types of people with different disabilities and different learning styles together under one classroom. So there's sort of an old school idea that people that maybe have different kind of learning problems should be put into their own schools and sort of ghettoed off into different environments. And we have a look at how that shouldn't be the case and how there's methods to bring everyone into the same classroom and how that can actually be a better experience for everyone, even if you have a learning disability or not.
And you also answer the burning question, I suppose it's an urban legend that we've all heard, that we only really use 10% of our brains. Is this true?
Yeah. No, it's not true. This is well, maybe I shouldn't tell you that, so then you'll listen to the show. But essentially, it's a wonderful device that's used in a lot of movies about the idea that if you only use 10% of your brain, and then if you use more of it, you become superhuman or be able to change time or something like that. And we have a look at why that's not the case and what parts of your brain you are actually using.
Let's go back to talking a bit more about mathematics. You speak about the psychology of maths and about why maths is often not really accessible to many people, although it could be. And I know that you've touched on it, but won't you just explain to us what is the concept of the psychology of mathematics?
Well, yeah, Professor Henning, she spelt it out to us as an idea that you should think of a child as if when you're educating a child, as if you're sort of building a house. And the idea that if you miss a step out in that process, it's very difficult, especially with maths, for you to get back to that. So they're actually running courses on their Soweto campus of UJ, where they'll take people in their 20s, people in their 30s, people that have, succeeded in life, and they'll do several tests, and they'll realize where their maths ability is lying. And often it's way back. Often it's kind of in some way back grade. And then as long as you start where you kind of went wrong, you go back to where you went wrong, you can rebuild your math skills. And she says the results are astounding. So people that really, you'll hear it often. People say, I'm just not very good at maths. That's not my thing. And she said the speed, as long as you go back to when you dropped your maths ability, you can catch up at any age. So it's not about that old myth of, if you're younger than 7, then therefore you can't do anything after that. That's not true. You can pick these skills up again as long as it's done methodically and with good instruction. So I found that really exciting, and also something that I always use as an excuse of I'm just not very good at maths. It's just not my skill set.
Yeah, me too. And now that you've told me this, neither of us have any excuse.
Yeah, I'm I still might use that as an excuse, basically.
Right. Now, obviously, you looked at this whole issue in light of the upcoming matric exams and in a very South African context where we know that education is a really hot topic when it comes to elections or any type of, political lobbying. So how far away do you think are we from seeing a South Africa where our students really can be given the best possible start when it comes to maths and sciences?
Well, we go into the show a little bit around It sounds like you've got a load of kids and you're using them for scientific experiments, but we talk a little bit about tests that are done on kids before they start school, like 6 years old, and comparing those to European students, like in Germany. And apparently we match up perfectly. There's nothing wrong with the kids coming into our schools, but it's about how we almost use them and how the parents get involved and all these sorts of socio-economic problems once they're at school. So I think on the one hand, it's incredibly positive in the fact that, there's an incredible chance and hope. On the other hand, I think all our experts didn't shy away from the fact that there's huge problems and no one really knows if we're going to be able to overcome them.
That's this week's episode of The Science Inside. You can listen to the full episode under this video. And of course, you can follow Paul McNally and the WITS Radio Academy on Twitter. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much.